morning, fourth graders. This is your math e-learning lesson for Wednesday, April the 15th. Today we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting decimals. So before we do that, let's take a look at these money problems here. So when you're adding or subtracting money, you know that you always line up your decimal points. Okay, so if we were adding $1.43 plus 25 cents, 3 plus 5 is 8, 4 plus 2 is 6. Remember to bring down your decimal point, 1 plus nothing, 1, and bring down your dollar sign. If you were subtracting, $6.57 minus $1.30, 7 minus 0 is 7, 5 minus 3 is 2, bring down your decimal point, 6 minus 1 is 5, and you bring down your dollar sign, $5.27. So again, when you were working with money, you knew that you needed to line up those decimal points in order to get the correct answer. You were lining them up so that you can keep the cents where it needs to be to the right of the decimal point and your dollars to the left of the decimal point. Well, it's pretty much the same thing when you're adding and subtracting decimal numbers. Okay, a decimal problem may look just like this without your dollar sign. So here you go. Here you're adding 1.43 plus 0.25, or 1 and 43 hundredths plus 25 hundredths. And so once again, you line up those decimal points. 3 plus 5 equals 8, 4 plus 2 equals 6. Bring down the decimal point, and then you bring down your 1. 1 and 68 hundredths. And over here, for your subtracting problem, 6 and 57 hundredths minus 1 and 30 hundredths, and you subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7, 5 minus 3 is 2, you bring down your decimal point, and 6 minus 1 equals 5, 5 and 27 hundredths. So these are lessons 116 and 117. 116 and 117, working on two lessons at the same time because the only difference is whether you're adding or subtracting the decimals, but the procedure is the same. You line up these decimal numbers by the decimal points, and then you just add or subtract the way you would with any numbers. Okay, so lesson 116, if you take a look at the practice, let's do A and B of the practice in lesson 116. Okay, we have 2 and 37 hundredths plus 4 and 6 tenths and 1 and 25 hundredths. So we are adding these three numbers together here. And then in B, we have 1 and 36 hundredths plus 47 hundredths, and then 6 and 2 tenths. Okay, let's look at both of these problems. Now notice that some numbers have 3 digits in them, some only have 2. The way to make sure you're going to get the correct answer is that you line up by the decimal points. If you keep those decimal points lined up, then you will end up with the correct answer, okay, keeping all digits in the correct place. So here, again, 2 and 37 hundredths, this is 4 and 6 tenths. But again, as long as you're lining up by the decimal point, your addition will work out. So let's start here. We have 7 plus 5 because, again, nothing right here. Okay, that's okay. 7 plus 5 is 12. Put down your 2. Carry over your 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. Put down the 2. Carry over your 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 4 is 7, and 7 plus 1 is 8. Bring down the 8. Now don't forget that over here, after we finished in this column, we carried over the 1, you want to make sure that you bring down your decimal point and then move into your last column to add. So here your answer is 8 and 22 hundredths. Okay. Over here, okay, again, we have our numbers lined up by the decimal points. It doesn't matter that there may be a different number of digits in these numbers. Okay, that doesn't matter as long as you have the decimal points lined up correctly. So again, we begin over here and we have 6 plus 7 is 13. So there's nothing here, so that's fine. 6 plus 7 is 13. We put down the 3, carry over the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. Put down your 0, carry over the 1. Now don't forget, you want to bring down that decimal point. And then now we add 1 plus 1 is 2, and 2 plus 6 is 8. And you have an answer of 8 and 3 hundredths. Okay, again, don't worry about a different number of digits. Okay, that's okay. You don't need to worry about that as long as you're lining up those decimal points. That's the most important thing. The decimal points have to be lined up. Okay, if you look, I know I said we were just going to do A and B, but if we look at examples C and D for a minute, notice we have 3 and 65 hundredths, and then 12 and 4 tenths, and then 57 hundredths. Okay, and D is very similar to this, and I wanted to show you this example because again, here you see now that you have your whole number is a double digit here, but here it's single digit. Again, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it looks like you're missing something here or you're missing something over here. What matters is that you're always lining up the decimal points. So when you line up the decimal points, everything else falls into place where it needs to be. So once again here, there's nothing here, that's fine. 5 plus 7 is 12, put down the 2, you carry over the 1. 6 plus 4 is 10, 10 plus 1 is 11, 11 plus 5, 16, put down the 6, carry over the 1. We want to bring down that decimal point. 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 0 is 6. And then here in the last column, we don't have a digit here, we don't have anything here. That's fine. What are we adding? 1 plus nothing is 1. Okay, so again, you don't need to worry about how many digits there are. You don't need to worry if there's a 2-digit whole number or even a 3-digit whole number or maybe just 1 decimal place or 2 decimal places. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you're always lining up the decimal points. When you line up the decimal points, everything else falls into place, whether you're adding or subtracting. So if we take a look at subtracting less than 117, let's look at a couple of those practice problems. Okay, the first one, A, it's 26 and 45 hundredths minus 12 and 14 hundredths. Okay. And then you subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1, 4 minus 1 is 3. Again, keeping those decimal points lined up, bring down your decimal point. 6 minus 2 is 4, and 2 minus 1 is 1. 14 and 31 hundredths. Now, if you look over at problem B, and 46 hundredths minus 2 and 3 tenths. Okay, again, here you have 2 decimal places, here you only have 1. That's okay. We're lining up by the decimal point. We're not lining up by our number of digits. Okay, we're not lining up by the ones place the way we would with traditional numbers, adding and subtracting. Okay, here you always line up by the decimal point and everything else falls into place. 6 minus nothing is 6. 4 minus 3 is 1. Bring down your decimal point. And 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 and 16 hundredths. Okay, And then if we just look at problem C, 42 and 7/10, 42 and 7/10 minus 6 and 4/10. Again, lining up by the decimal point, okay? And then 7 minus 4 is 3. We bring down the decimal point. Okay, so now here we have 2 minus 6. Well, just like in any other subtraction problem, when we can't do the 2 minus 6, we would need to trade. So 4 becomes 3. This is 12. 12 minus 6 is 6, and 3 minus nothing is 3. Okay, so your actual adding and subtracting is the same as working with just whole numbers. The difference though here is that you're always going to line up by the decimal point. Just like when you worked with money, you were adding and subtracting money. I always told you if you made sure that you had your decimal points lined up, you would know that you had your problems set up correctly. So again, in lessons 116 and 117 for today, adding and subtracting decimals, you need to make sure that those decimal points are always lined up. Now, today, because it's a combination of 2 lessons, what I'd like you to work on is lesson 116, you'll do numbers 1 to 13. And then on lesson 117, you do numbers 14 to 30. So you still have the 30 problems that you normally would. It's just half from lesson 116 and half from lesson 117. So again, that's lesson 116, numbers 1 to 13. And then lesson 117, it's numbers 14 to 30. Okay, if you have any questions or you need any help with that, please make sure you reach out to me. In addition to completing those lessons for today, make sure you're spending some time in extra math or IXL. Okay, have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.